Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Steven here, aka the Broke Designer. How have you guys been doing? I hope you've been working on projects, exploring your creativity and all of that. For me, yeah, I've been good and I'm here once again with another video just for you. So oftentimes I always get the question, how do I get started with design, or how do I get my career started? What are the essential things I need to put in place first before I can start a career in design? So in this video, I'm going to show you how to get started with brand identity and graphic design. But before getting into the video, if you're new to this channel, please hit the subscribe button, like this video, and turn on your post notifications so that whenever I release a new video, you get to see it first. This will help me to grow a lot, and I'll keep dropping videos for you guys here on this channel. Now let's get right into the video. So the very first thing you need to know before you get started in design is to actually know what you are going into. What is graphic design? What is brand identity design? These are two related fields, but they're actually different skill sets. You can be a graphic designer, you can be solely a brand identity designer, but mostly they go hand in hand. So what's the difference? Now, graphic design is a way of communication. Graphic design helps us to communicate ideas or certain messages with visual and textual content, basically combining visuals and text to convey a certain message, pass certain informations, do product advertisements, basically communicate certain things with the audience that is consuming that design or consuming that information. That is what graphic design summarily is. I'm just going to speak in the plainest of terms possible. Just communication, that's the keyword about graphic design. And we use all these elements like shapes, lines, colors, text, images to communicate these ideas, messages, campaigns, events, and all of that. Now, brand identity design, just like the word identity says, is what you can use to differentiate something from another. So a brand's identity is the visual identity, just like our identity as a person. Oh, okay, I'm a tall guy, I'm dark skinned, my name is this, that's my brand name, or whatever it may be. That is how all these brands also have their identity in terms of their brand name, their logo, their color, their typography, that's their fonts, their patterns, and all of that. That is the identity of a brand. Now let's look at telecommunication in Nigeria. If you see yellow, you know you're talking about MTN. If you see red, you're talking about Airtel. Light green will be Glo, and dark green will be Nine Mobile. These are the main identities of these telecom networks that we have here in Nigeria. So if you see an ad, like an ad based on telecommunication, and you see a yellow team, you know definitely it's MTN. You cannot see MTN using a blue team for their ads because that is not part of their identity. Once you go outside of maybe their fonts, their color, their logo, you are no longer designing for MTN, if that should be. So a brand identity designer just basically creates this visual identity of a brand, while a graphic designer now pushes out these messages, these campaigns, these events concerning this particular brand out to the audience. So they usually work hand in hand. You can be a graphic designer and a brand identity designer all together. If you want just to be a graphic designer, that's fine as well. So the very second tip is the software you are going to learn. Now you're starting from scratch. Now in 2024, if you want to learn graphic design, I'll advise you to get on board with the Adobe Creative Suite. This is Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, Adobe InDesign, or Photoshop and Illustrator primarily. Now there are other design software. There's Canva, there's CorelDRAW. They say that one is our Infinity Lab or something like that. But why are we using Photoshop and Illustrator? Now those are the two top leading design software in graphic design in the whole world. Now if you go on the global scene, because I believe we all want to scale up and become big time designers. If you check on platforms like Upwork, where people freelance and get a lot of clients, if you check on LinkedIn, where professionals work, and you see where they post all these job openings or gig openings in the field of graphic design, they always put that requirement of Adobe Creative Suite. You're always going to see Photoshop, you're always going to see Illustrator. So now that you're coming into this market, forget about the software that you may prefer or what you just fancy, because design goes beyond the final output, what it just looks like. There are times where you do your designs and the client wants to collect the source file or the original file because maybe they want to use it for animation or something else. So you want to be able to set or give them what is aligned with the industry standard, and what is trending or the most popular software currently is Adobe Creative Suite, which is in Photoshop and Illustrator. So if you're learning, please hop onto Photoshop and Illustrator. Now, the third thing you need to know before you get started is the kind of laptop you are going to use, the kind of computer you are going to use for graphic design. Now, there are a lot of specifications, and I know there's a lot of confusion when it comes to laptops. Ideally for design software, because Adobe software are quite heavy, Photoshop, Illustrator, After Effects, and the rest are quite heavy. So if you want the ideal system to carry that, you need a system with a dedicated graphics card, probably Nvidia graphics or AMD Radeon graphics, 2 GB dedicated and above. Those ones are specialized. Those are graphic system or gaming systems specialized for that purpose. But those are kind of like pricey. They are kind of like on the high side. I think in Nigeria, if you want to get at least a 2 GB dedicated system, you're talking of at least maybe from 500,000 naira, 600,000 for a UK used dedicated graphic system here in Nigeria. But you don't need that necessarily to get started. To get started in design, you need basically a Core i3 laptop with at least 8 GB of RAM. Preferably a Core i5 or Core i7 with 8 GB of RAM. But if you cannot afford that, Core i3, 8 GB of RAM. Now the storage capacity does not really matter, but the storage type matters. There's SSD and there's HDD. Preferably get a system with an SSD drive. An SSD drive, 8 GB RAM, Core i3, Core i5, Core i7. That is good enough for you to start with. Like I said, these software are quite heavy. You don't want to get frustrated because your software is hanging or your system is hanging once you begin to design over a long period of time. So this is just a basic requirement. It doesn't matter the brand, whether HP, Dell, Lenovo, Asus, whichever. Just check the processor, Core i3 and above, then at least 8 GB of RAM and an SSD drive, and you are good to go. That system, that's what you can basically start with. I even started with an Intel Pentium that is way worse than that. So it's just for you to get started, and from there I believe you improve your skill set, earn more money, and you can buy the kind of laptop you want. Now, the fourth and the very last tip I want to share with you guys concerning starting design is where to learn design from. Now, one thing you should know about Photoshop, like as one of the design software, is that not only designers use Photoshop. People that do motion work use Photoshop. Photographers, they use Photoshop. Photoshop looks intimidating and kind of scary from the start, because there's a lot that can be done with Photoshop. Now, why I'm pointing this out is that if you should go to a platform like YouTube, you will see a lot of tutorials concerning Photoshop. Now, the field you want to go into, which is graphic design, you may go and see tutorials, or you may be learning things that you do not actually need. There are a lot of, maybe you may learn more of image manipulation, which is helpful in design, of course, but it's not the primary thing you need to learn. You need to learn how to work around your design principles, layouts, alignment, balance, and all of that. Those are the things you should focus on. So if you want to learn design, I always suggest to get probably a paid course or learn from a mentor. Now, to get a paid course, you can go to Udemy, you can go to Coursera. You find cheap courses there. Sometimes they do like discounts up to 80%, 90% discount, and you're buying some courses for like 3,600 naira. I can get good courses there and learn. You can also enroll for a design school or learn under a professional. Now, personally, I have a design academy, Initial Design Academy. We're operating for like 2 years now. We have like 8 cohorts trained with over 70 to 80 students trained so far. And we teach brand identity and graphic design from scratch. And we also have intermediate classes. So if you want to learn, you can check the caption or the description of this video for more details about that. But if you don't want to enroll for that, if you want a video course where you can be learning at your pace, like I said, Udemy is a good option, Coursera is a good option, Skillshare is also a good option. But if you cannot pay for that for a start, please go to YouTube. You can find good and very useful information on YouTube. But make sure at least you talk to somebody that can narrow down the things you need to learn, so you know what you are searching for on YouTube. You're not just learning any tutorial concerning Photoshop, because like I said, Photoshop is very, very wide. So that's it for today, guys. That's just the basic things you need to get started. Now, a recap of all the things, like I said. Number 1, know what you're getting into. Understand the principles, graphic design and brand identity, what it actually is. Know what you're getting into. Number 2, learn the right software from the start. You don't want to learn a software that is not so much in demand, then later you're going to start learning another one from scratch. So learn the right software from the start. Number 3, get a good system that can carry the software we're going to use, because that software, believe me, is going to drain a lot from your system. So you want to make sure that your system is in a good enough position to run that software. And lastly, I will advise you to get a premium course or a paid course. Learn under a mentor, someone to guide you through, so that you are going on track, and that is going to fast track your progress. Personally, I am a self-taught designer, and it took me a whole lot of time to figure some very, very simple things out, which is why I actually started my academy, so that I can actually guide people. And in just 6 weeks, I already have students producing very marvelous design. So like I said, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Please like this video, hit the subscribe button, share this video with your friends and others, or anyone that wants to get started in design or don't know how to go about it. Until next time, stay creative, stay safe. Bye.